Hello guys, today we have Mr. Rohit Taneja with us, the founder and director of Mypoolin, which is India's only social payment platform. Mypoolin has recently been acquired by Wibmo. Rohit has been associated with Millionminds since the last 2 years now. Hi Rohit,
Hi.
It's an immense pleasure for us to have you with us on Millionminds platform.
Thank you.
As our viewers would want to know more about you, about Mypoolin and about your entrepreneurial journey, so before that I would want to know, why did you choose entrepreneurship?
So my inspiration comes from the fact that it's like in the world there are a lot of problems that exist, and not just in India, all across countries. And if you notice, there are people who are trying to solve problems, but they don't have the right support in the sense of the team, the capital required, the right ideology, the right execution, and that is why a lot of people fail in their efforts. So my idea was that if I really want to make an impact, I cannot just be a part of a big pie. I cannot be just a small wheel of a train. So if I have to really make an impact and solve some of these hard problems, I have to create everything from scratch. That is, I have to make sure that the support system that I create for myself is perfect, right? And so that's how the inspiration came of being an entrepreneur. So, and this is something I tell very frequently, that the smartest people should solve the hardest problems. So I believe that there's a lot of hard problems to be solved, and being an entrepreneur is awesome.
Really great, yeah, Rohit. So why did you choose FinTech as a core domain to operate in?
Couple of them actually. So the core reason of starting Mypoolin in this particular domain were actually two. So the first reason was we noticed that this problem was pretty much there in our own college lives, both for me and my co-founder. So like, I'll give you a very simple example there, how the problem came around. So both of us used to go out socially, like every college guy, with friends for movies, events, dinners and all. And whenever you go out in a group, there's always a problem of uncomfortable you owe me's, because you're spending together with the group, and then you need to chase them for the money that you paid for them, right? And nobody likes paying back. So there's a very awkward, uncomfortable situation that comes in that causes people to lose friendships, and distance themselves, right? So that's a very personal problem that we faced, and realized that there can be a better way to share money, rather than using cash or fumbling around for ATMs, debit cards. And P2P was not that popular at that time. UPI was not there in the market. So that's the first thing. The second thing was we noticed an opportunity in the market that we could create a product which could simplify peer-to-peer payments and make it as simple as sending a text message. So these two things combined at the right time led to this.
So Rohit, Mypoolin was recently merged with Wibmo, and we have recently even witnessed Flipkart and Walmart deal. So how do you see the merger and acquisition trend in the industry?
So M&As are a good thing for the ecosystem in general, and there have not been many M&As recently, except a few, a couple of them which you just named. Flipkart and Walmart was one of the biggest M&As that happened in the startup ecosystem, and it was very important for Flipkart to exit, as a lot of people already know. It's an open truth out there that Flipkart has been a money bleeding business for a long time, and with no potential IPO in sign because of the cash flows problem, an exit from a company with a high cash flow was the best option out there. So that is why they chose that route. For us, it was a different reason altogether. However, yeah, so as I mentioned, generally this trend is now increasing, the whole M&A trend, and which is leading to actually more confidence in entrepreneurs and also more confidence in the investors, because investors obviously like it when there are exits. So I think overall, as a cycle for both the sides of the equation, it's a very good thing, and we would love that to increase more.
So Rohit, how do you see the merger between Mypoolin and Wibmo impacting your clients and existing business?
So after the merger, I won't say a lot of things have changed from that point, because our merger is more of like a different one, in the sense that kind of like the Facebook WhatsApp style, where they kept WhatsApp as an independent subsidiary. So similarly, we are actually an independent subsidiary in Wibmo, and we share resources together, we build products together, so we align the vision, we align the roadmaps as well together. However, we still maintain ownership on those merchants, the clients, the partners that we bring on board. There can of course be a cross-selling of products from Webmo to those merchants and vice versa. However, we still remain in control of those. So there's not much difference in terms of relationship changing from that. Yeah.
Rohit, we want to know that Mypoolin was into a B2C segment, right? So why did it enter into the B2B segment? We want to know something more about it.
Again, there are two reasons for that. First reason is that the consumer market is very fickle-minded. It's slightly faster to get engagement and slightly faster to get validation from the consumers as compared to the B2B market. Those are the pros of that, but the cons are that there is very low revenue unless you play at a volume game, especially in a payments domain. So you either have to have a lot of patience or a lot of capital, and mostly both, right? So burning through money and then waiting for revenues to come in later on is slightly hard to build as a business, and given that the VC market changes over time, this was a decision we made at some point recently, that instead of being B2C, it's better if we go B2B, which is more revenue generating, and we can see things coming from day one in terms of cash flow. Yeah.
So like you mentioned about your challenges and the problems that you face, I want to know what are the challenges that you faced during your journey in Mypoolin?
So I think the first one and the most important one is always finding the right fit in terms of the product. So a lot of people get too attached to the solution, and even we at times during our journey were attached in between to our solution, and very soon we realized that that's not the right way to do it. The right way is that you should be more attached to the problem you're solving, because the solution can change along the way. So one is emotionally detaching yourself from the solution that you're building. That's very hard. A lot of people are not able to do that, to look at it from a third party's point of view, to take critical feedback in good stride, and to be really open to start again if everything falls apart. So that is one of the hardest things, I would say.
According to you, what is success and how would you define it?
For me, I think it's easier for me to answer my own personal question, of course, because I have a clear definition there. For me, it's more like I look at the impact and the problems being solved by my being there, in the company, and is the company progressing enough, So ultimately, say after 3-4 years, 5 years after we solve something, when we build products like these and we come into the market, so that's the launch of the product, right? That's the stage where almost everybody knows that yes, right, Rohit is solving something, right? But will people remember this after 5 or 10 years is the question that remains. If I can answer yes to that okay, 1 million people, a billion people, hopefully, a billion people hopefully would remember what we did. Of course, right now we are small, but hopefully what I do for the future. If the answer to that is yes, then I consider it a success. So that's the way I look at it. That did I make a positive impact in the lives of 1 million or billion people? Right. For Mypoolin, of course, the success definition changes with time. So initially it was more to launch the product, to get more validation, to get more users, and now it's more to be a very stable, strong B2B product that has a good, relationship with merchants and a good, healthy revenue cycle. So that would be success for Mypoolin.
All right. So what would be the way forward for Mypoolin and you?
The first thing would be that right now we are at a stage where we are sort of aligning the teams together. After the acquisition, it's always hard for the team to adjust, because it's a new environment, it's a new city, and different expectations, because then you have a whole different league of people together. So first is you need to make sure that the people in the team themselves are really aligned and they're really happy with what they're doing, and they continue to be happy for the future. That's one. Second thing, that's the short term, of course, and we would love that to be the case forever. In the long term, at a macro level, for the company, the idea is that we would continue to go more towards the B2B side and build new leagues of products within the B2B segments. So for example, we are doing something on the KYC front, where we are basically helping a lot of marketplaces, banks, and merchants who require KYC validations to accept and automatically validate KYC on the go. So I could just take a snap of a an ID, validate it from the government database, get a response whether it's valid or not, all within a few minutes. So that's one of the new products which is coming on, not directly related to payments, but still solving the problem of our end merchants. So like a value add for that. So these are kind of products we'll go further deeper into.
So as we have reached the end of the session, what would be the most important message that you would want to give to the young minds who aspire into getting the entrepreneurial world?
I think the most important message would be that perseverance and execution are way more important than everything else. And I think the people who have gone through the cycle, they know it. But since you asked for aspiring entrepreneurs, they are slightly confused as to what's the importance weightage for different components in the ecosystem. Like how much important is the team, how much important is my boss, how much important is the current job where I'm working, is that leading me to an entrepreneurial cycle, or how much important is the capital in the market, how much important is the timing. So people are very confused about that, right? And it's natural because there are a lot of factors they don't know answer to. So I would say, instead of focusing on so many factors, and especially many factors which are outside your control, the thing that is in your control and makes the most difference is perseverance and execution. So if you can really stick to those, be patient and execute well for a long enough time, I don't see a reason where you will not achieve a good enough success.
Thank you for being here and sharing your experience and insights with us. We hope and wish all the luck to Mypoolin, and we hope that it becomes $1 million company soon. Thank you so much, Rohit. Thank you.